Hey Andres, I know you've been wanting to use Derby standalone in your personal site for a while now. So I'm gonna put this video together real quick to show you how to include Derby standalone, which of course gives you Derby components and data-driven HTML binding in a client-side environment, so you can add it to your own website with no server, no database requirements, just dynamic templates. So we have a couple examples now. One is on CodePen, which is nice. It's mostly just about the JavaScript and the HTML. There is some CSS, behind the scenes here, but it's nothing special. So really, what we're going to look at is the code required to initialize the Derby components and define them, and then render them. And then we'll look at the HTML templates themselves, which of course are arbitrary HTML plus some handlebars like syntax for doing data binding and looping over data to render it into the template. So I've made another example also linked here, which is a block. Blocks of course come from the D3JS community, where they you host and index the HTML on a GitHub gist, and you can have some code and it will render the results here. You can of course go to this gist, download it, clone it, whatever, straight download these files like I did, and you can view them in your editor of choice. Alright, so let's take a look at this. We have our home page. Beautiful, I know. So you might have your normal content, right, like your header. You have a place that you want to put some dynamic content rendered. This isn't just a div. It could be wherever, whatever size, whatever style, but that's where we want to put our Derby stuff. And then we have a footer. Okay, great, whatever, right? So let's take a look at how this code is organized. We have our normal HTML head, some styles, whatever. We have a normal body, some divs. Here's our content div, and let's look at this script tag here. So it's a type text template, right, and it has an ID body. This script type text template is something that Derby will look for and pull out the contents and render as a view. So you see this sort of handlebars like syntax, a custom element here, posts, which we defined on here. This will all get kind of rendered into real HTML DOM elements by Derby. And here we're defining a component, calling it posts, and we're also saying the data element posts here is what allows us to use it as like a tag name. And then in here we render the contents, kind of looping over some data, all that good stuff. You can see here that I'm including the script directly from the hosted version on GitHub pages. You could also download this file and host it in your own lib folder. So you don't have to have the internet to develop, however you want. It's just a JavaScript file. And then we're also pulling in this index.js file, which is what's going to load the views, register them. This is just some boilerplate that we use. We hook up the app, so we can say app here and explore some Derby stuff. The model is what the data that drives the whole thing. So we have this underscore page, posts, and this has these post objects, which is actually set here using Derby's model syntax. Here we're registering the posts component, right? We have our view with ID posts, and we're giving it this post class, which is some JavaScript here. In CoffeeScript, we do this too. We define these classes with initialization functions. This is a default Derby thing. Everything has an init. Every component can have an init where you run some code. And then we can define view functions like the select function here, which whenever we say on click, this is a built-in Derby thing. You can add to any element. You say on click, it will call this view function, which we defined in the code here. So we're passing in a post and an index. You'll see when we click on one of these, it prints out the object and the index that which is done here, and it's setting a selected index, which we're not really using. The last part of boilerplate, you get the model, Um, and then I'm just logging out the fragment, because this is kind of the interesting part, is we grab this fragment with the name body, right? You see here, and then we attach it to the content, which we just got, document get element by ID content. So however you want to grab the div that you want to throw your rendered fragment in, you can do that. You could actually set up multiple fragments or more templates and render pieces throughout your website if you want. You just have to do these lines. Yeah, so that's kind of the basics. I think it should get you going. And I just wanted to say, for those of you who don't know Andreas, if you're watching this, getting a derby, he's a designer at Lever, responsible for our beautiful UI and the usability that people really love. We've been joking he's the Johnny Ives of HR. All right, so he's now tending to his neck beard, which is growing as he learns more and more coding, and we're all really excited because Derby's components make it really easy for him to actually get a long way without having to dig too deep into coding to do really interesting dynamic stuff. Anyway, hope this helped. We'll be putting out more examples, documentation. Catch you later.